Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another episode of the Entrepreneurial Mindset Show. My name is Florin and I'm so delighted to be with you today to share something about the mindset that I really believe it's a game changer for us as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, or as a corporate professional, if that's where you are. So this is for you if you have any goals that you want to follow, any dreams that you want to put into action, or anything that you know needs you to grow. Because here is what I know. um, the only guarantee that tomorrow is going to be better is if we improve ourselves today. So in this series we're going to share with you what I call to be those 12 entrepreneurial success mindsets that I realize are characteristics of successful entrepreneurs. So through my experience in working with entrepreneurs, and also being an entrepreneur myself, studying the lives of successful entrepreneurs, I came to the conclusion that there are 12 different mindsets that these people, these entrepreneurs, successful men and women possess, that separates them from the rest. And in this show I'm going to share with you the 12 different mindsets. So each week we're going to cover one of those, and today we're going to cover the growth mindset. But before we dive into that, let's look at what is a growth mindset. So I'm going to shift between my camera here and the screen, my screen. I have some slides for us here today, and I'm going to shift between those two. So when you see the graphics coming up on the screen, you know that I'm just here, but I'm sharing my screen. Okay. So what it's a mindset, and why is that important for us? So mindset, it has been said, it's a set of attitudes, beliefs, expectations about a situation or an outcome. So a mindset, it's a set of beliefs, expectations, attitude about the situation or an outcome. Is how we see the world and what we expect the world to be like, and how do we expect the world to operate. So if that's my mindset, why is mindset important? Well, it's important because it's the filter through which I see the world, right? So if I have the wrong filter, I might see the wrong things out there in the world. And I might believe that that's reality. Now, the challenge is that the world we see ourselves is just a reflection of our beliefs and our mindset. It's not the reality. Because two people could look at the same thing and see completely different things based on their past experience, on their expectations, beliefs, and all that. So why mindset is so important is because it impacts everything you and I do. So if I can help you, improve your mindset, this will translate in an improvement in everything you do. So that's why I believe it doesn't even matter, how much skill you have and how much skill you will develop with the right mindset. You can make much more out of your skills and talents and abilities and resources. But with the wrong mindset, you could be the best skilled person on the planet. If you have the wrong mindset, towards the marketplace, towards the community, towards people, towards business, you're not going to win. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this topic, and that's why I believe the key to success is really improving our mindset. So today we're going to look at, we just look at why this matters, right? Why mindset matters. And one thing that I share with people is that most of us would agree that the way we approach a task, right, or a situation, determines, in great measure, the results that we're going to get. But it's not so obvious that it's our mindset that determines the way we approach a situation, right? And so if we can change the way we look at that situation, and if we could look for those things that actually serve us, and it's in our benefit, rather than the things that might not be serving us. We could look at this situation with the whole COVID situation in the world. We could look at as an opportunity for us to do some things that we haven't had the chance to do before. Or we can look at it as the worst curse in the world. And there are people that look at it both ways, right? I look at this situation, 1 year ago when I started creating the online academy, as a blessing, because I knew before that, I didn't have the time to be able to work on this content that I wanted to put out in the world. I was busy traveling from point A to point B to meet clients, to meet people in person. And a 30 minutes, a launch meeting or 45 minutes launch meeting became a 1 hour and a half meeting because I had to prepare, I had to dress, I had to drive to the meeting place. We had the meeting, and then I have to drive back and maybe undress. And so that 45 minutes that I gain, or maybe 1 hour many times, that I gain by not needing to travel from point A to point B and having the meeting on Zoom, that was where I saw the opportunity to invest and create this content. So other people look at it, oh, I miss my networking time. I miss meeting people, and I do too. But I chosen to look at it differently. I chosen to look at the opportunity. So we all agree that I guess we can all agree on that, right? That the the way we approach a task or a situation in great proportion, it's determining the results that we're getting. And so that's why I believe we need to focus on our mindset and improving our mindset, because that transpires in everything we do. Now, one thing that I like is what Paul Schiller shared. He says that your mindsets become your habits of expectation about how you and the world operate. Well, when I'm thinking about driving a car, for example, right? So the expectation that I have is that when I press on the brake pedal, it slows down, and when I press on the accelerator pedal, it accelerates, right? That's my expectation. So if my mindset becomes a habit of expecting how the world operates, and I filter my experience in this world through that, and I expect that when I get into my car and when I drive my car, when I press the accelerator pedal, I know that will go faster, and when I press the brake pedal, that will go slower. Then when I'm just driving and I'm not thinking consciously into my driving, what do? If I want to go faster, I press the accelerator pedal because my expectation is that will go faster. But what if I got this wrong? And now, the car example is something that we can all understand. It's obvious. But what if I got this wrong? What if my expectation about how the world function is not ingrained in reality, and is the result of my learning, journey, and my learning behavior? What if my accelerator pedal is actually slowing down my car? What if? We never know. So that's why we want to challenge what we think, and we want to challenge. Is it what I'm expecting from the world? Is it? I give this example of me moving to Sweden and expecting to be hard for me to create a business in Sweden. I'm from Romania. I grew up in the post-communist Romania, and I didn't have any model in my life of people that been successful from my family or from my circle of influence that been successful in moving into another or to another country and then creating a business there. No, most examples that I had was people that they couldn't find a job in Romania, and they immigrated to Spain or Italy to work in the restaurant business, or in picking strawberries in the farms. So that was the example. When I shared with my dad that we're gonna move to Sweden, he said, "You're gonna go and work on some restaurant or what?" I said, "No, no, we're gonna go and work in our careers." That was the example that he had, and that was his expectation about how the world functions, right? So that's why it's really important for us to understand and get this right. And one of the mindset that I would want to share with you today is this mindset of growth mindset, right? So we share that there are 12 different mindsets, and one of them is the entrepreneurial growth mindset. And so what this means for you and I, it means that we have to move from accidental growth to intentional growth. What is the significance of that? So why accidental growth? Yeah, because we usually equate activity with growth, which means if I'm busy, if I'm doing things, if I have a full agenda, it means that I'm growing. And chances are that you are growing because you're doing things that are new. Maybe you're getting a new situation. Maybe you have to reach out to new clients. You're growing out of that. But that's accidental growth, right? Because it's a difference between me doing the work that I'm supposed to do, for my business to work, for my business to function, and out of that, from time to time, getting into a new situation where I become aware of my potential. I become aware of how can I make the most of this situation, and I grow out of that. The difference being that when I'm intentional about my growth, first of all, I have a strategy and I said, I'm gonna want to grow in these areas, and I'm gonna on purpose put myself in a situation where I grow. You see the difference? So one is accidental growth, which means that I'm doing my work, and because I'm doing my work throughout those activities, I praise myself in a situation where from time to time I need to do something outside of my comfort zone. And if I'm then taking the time to reflect upon that new situation, I'm gonna get some new awareness out of that, and I'm gonna grow. And the other one is starting with the end in mind. Is saying, okay, who do I want to be in 3 years from now? What kind of skills and abilities and talents do I need in order to perform in my business or my career or whatever I want to be? And then create a plan for you to grow from where you are to where you want to be. That's the difference between accidental growth and intentional growth. Now, one challenge that we have is that we're focusing on the business. That's where most of our time goes. Like if you are in a career, if maybe you're an entrepreneur, maybe you have entrepreneurial aspirations, you are still in a career, maybe you build something for your own. The challenge is that we spend too much time onto developing the business, right? Developing the marketing strategy, the sales strategy, the copy, the website, the processes, everything. And we don't spend enough time on developing ourselves and the people in our business. So if you have a team, it's your responsibility to grow your team. If you don't have a team and you're just starting, it's your responsibility to grow yourself. So this is what my mentor Christian Simpson said: develop the owner and not the business. This is so key. Now, what we're discussing here, think about entrepreneurial mindset, right? Is there any mindset in your business, right? Or in your idea? No, the mindset is in your head, right? Is it the thinking that you approach and you apply to your business? Now, your business will never be able to outgrow the quality of thinking that you apply to it. And this is exactly that example of the glass ceiling, right? So those businesses that are stuck, and if you're stuck now in your career, if you're stuck in your personal growth life, if you're stuck in your business, you probably hit that glass ceiling. And what is that glass ceiling? Is that in invisible cap on your business growth. And why is that? Is because we're not growing. We're not growing as individuals, because doesn't matter how much skill do I have if I'm maybe having the wrong approach, the wrong attitude, the wrong belief about the marketplace, about how business functions, about sales, about everything that has to do with our business. So that's why what we're doing here, we're looking at improving your thinking. When you improve your thinking, you'll be able to apply this thinking to everything in your business and everything around you. So that will exponentially help you grow in those areas. So why do we really need to grow? Why would someone want to grow? What's about this growth? Well, the first thing that I want to share with you that has to do with growth is share with you this law of vibration. So if you're not familiar with laws, this is one of the 7 universal laws of creation. And this is, one of these laws that govern the way we create results and the way we function as human beings and the way the universe works, right? And what this low vibration says is that nothing is still. There is not such a thing as inertia, and everything moves and everything vibrates, and everything at a constant, state of change and move. And we see this. This is very obvious when you look at the plant, right? So if you see there are two plants in my office here, and so those plants, those little plants, flowers, they only do two things. It's very obvious for that. So they either have the nutrients, the ingredients, all they need to grow, and they grow and develop, and they never think about stop growing, right? You would never see a tree, saying, okay, I think I grew enough, so I will just stop here. No, as long as they have the conditions to grow, they grow, right? And if they don't grow, they only do one thing. They disintegrate and they die. That's what happens with everything around us. It's very obvious to see it for a flower or a plant or a tree, but that's also what happens with us. With other growing and moving forward, we're actually not growing and moving backwards, because this low vibration says that everything is a constant change of move, with a state of move and a constant change. And what that means is that the universe is not gonna stop for you and I. You see now, with the speed of which everything evolves around us, and the speed of technology evolvement, and technology process progress, what happens is that if we are not growing, we are left behind. It's impossible for us to just stay still. And you hear people say, oh, I like the things, I like things just the way they were. Oh, I cannot wait for things to get back to before COVID. There is not such a thing of before COVID. The only thing we have is now, and now is not what we had before. And this is a structural change that affects all of us. So if we're not growing, if we're not improving every single day, what happens is that we're disintegrating, we're crumbling. And it's even, this is also valid for example, buildings. Like you see this low vibration. Now the challenge is that we don't see this with the naked eye, and we might believe that things are stand still, right? So I'm here in the newly built house. So this was built, just a few. We moved here a few months in, right? A few months ago. So we're just a few months in, and this is, you would say this is brand new, right? And you would say that this house is at standstill, but actually it's not. If you think about it, this house was in the growing and building process up until the moment they handed out the key to us and we move in. And from the moment we move in, this this house started disintegrating. Now, this happens with a speed that we're not able to see it with the naked eye. But if you would take a closer look at the walls and the painting and the bricks and everything, you would see that they are disintegrating. Now, we of course we maintain the house, we take care of the house, we paint the house, and we entertain it. We maintain it for long enough for us to live in it. Decades. But now we understand that this is what happens. It's either building and growing to a place where this is is done, it's ready to move in, or is disintegrating. So the same happens for us. If we're not growing, if we're not moving forward, we're moving backwards. And what happens with the building if we're not taking care of it? Well, it happens with what happened with these buildings, right? So it crumbles, it disintegrates. That's why we really need to grow. But what stops us from growing? What stops people from growing? And I think one of the biggest challenges is that we're not making personal development and personal growth a priority, just because we wrongly assume that activity is growth, and we know it's not. So I think what we want to understand, I think you all know, or you heard about this Stephen Covey matrix, right? Of urgent and important, right? And so, you know, they are urgent things that we need to do, and there are also things that are important for us, but there are also things that are not urgent. And now what happens is, the challenge is that, you know, we focus on the things that are not important, right? And you know, most businesses, most people, most of our days focus on these two quadrants, right? In the urgent part, and we get on our agenda things that are urgent, and things that are urgent and important, but also things that are urgent and not important. And now, you know, as a business, and as a business owner, as a company, we don't want to focus at all on the lower part of not important, right? So ideally we only want to focus on important things, right? And we don't want to spend time there. But the thing is that if we don't take care of what is important, when it's not urgent, it becomes urgent. And so what happens is here, you know, ideally we only want to focus on the things that are important. Now, personal growth, it's something that's a good idea, right? So personal growth, it's, you understand this, you know, consciously and logically. Say, yeah, Florin, I understand that, you know, personal growth, and I understand it's okay. Yeah, absolutely, it's important to grow. But what happens is that, because this is not urgent, because this is not something that someone, you know, has created a growth plan for us. If you remember when you've been in school, if you had, you know, any schooling experience, and probably you had a similar experience with mine. So when I was in school, we had a curriculum and they tell us, you know, in order for you to pass from, you know, fifth grade to sixth grade, you need to go through this different, you know, discipline, this curriculum, and you need to pass the exam with the minimum rate of, you know, whatever it was that. But I was in school, right? When I finished school, I went into the university. It was the same. So I had a curriculum. I needed to go through some exams. I could choose some, but there were some mandatory, and then I had some choices. And then I finished that, and I went into my first job, and they also had kind of a growth plan for me, saying, in order for you to be able to do the work that we needed to do, you need to go through these trainings, right? So they created a roadmap for me. Now, then I changed company when I went into my second employer. Then they were a little bit more freely. So they say, yeah, you could go and look at, you know, what do you like from the, you know, the training offer, and you could choose where you want to go. And all of a sudden, there was not a curriculum for me. There was no one, you know, telling me I should be going to this course or the other course, or I need to grow in this area or in the other area, and then becoming an entrepreneur. Now there is no one else. There was no one else setting the agenda for me to grow or for you to grow. So it's 100% our responsibility. And so it's very easy for us to know that this is important, but because it's not urgent, because no one else, you know, it's setting that kind of growth pace for us. No one is telling you by this date you need to, you know, have mastered this curriculum and take this exam and pass that exam. There is no sense of urgency. So it's very easy for us to focus on the things that are actually urgent and set this aside. But ideally, we want to actually spend our time on the things that are not urgent, that are important. And this is personal growth is one of those areas. So we don't want this to just be one of those things that we put it aside again and again because it's not urgent. We want to stay, you make it a priority. So okay, so what can we do? What can we do from here? So what can we do is that we want to shift from a goal mindset to a growth mindset. We want to shift from being focused on goals and having goals and focusing on growth. And what's the difference? You know, the difference is that when we are focused on goals, and this has to do with, you know, everything we do in our business. I don't say that we should not have goals, but focusing on goals doesn't necessarily, you know, guarantee that we're growing in that process and that we're learning, because so many people are what we call to be, you know, unconscious competent. They have achieved things in their lives, but they are not able to tell you how they've done it. And what you want to do is you want to focus on growth, focus on being on the journey and always developing, because as you develop, you are able to hit those goals too, but you know you're growing. And the difference being that when you achieve a goal, I mean, when you set a goal for yourself, the reason for you and I to have a goal and the purpose of the goal is not to have something. The purpose of the goal for me, when I set the goal to live in this house, the purpose of the goal was not for me to have this house, to live in this house. No, the purpose of the goal was for me to grow and develop and become the person that can have this house, that can live in this house. You see the difference? So the purpose of the goal is not for you to get anything. The only purpose for you having goals is for you to become someone. When you shift from a goal mindset and focusing on goals to focusing on growth, that's what you do. You're shifting from focusing on getting something and focusing on the destination, and you look for growth opportunity and you focus on the journey. So that's the key there. So I think we probably need some ideas to where to start, right? So let's look at that. So where do I start? Where do I start if I want to? If you say, Florin, I want to make this shift. I get it. I get it. I want to shift from accidental growth to intentional growth, and I also want to shift from focusing on goals only and focusing on on the destination to focusing on the journey and enjoying the journey, right? Because that's the key, isn't it? Like, the challenge is that when we focus on growth when we focus on goals and we get the goal, what happens is after the goal, like we kind of stop growing until we find another goal. But what if we just focus on becoming the best version of ourselves? What if we could focus on that? When could someone say that they became the best version of themselves? Well, this is a lifelong journey. And this is about enjoying the journey rather than focusing on the destination. Because here's what I know. When we say that only if I would have this income in my business, then I will be happy. Only if I would be able to pay my mortgage, then I will be happy. Only if we take this new round of investment, then I'll be happy. Only if I'm able to reach that level of sales, then I'll be happy. No, you're not. Chances are you're not. Because you're looking for something. When you have it, what happens then? You realize, oh, but that was not necessarily actually what made me happy. But you could be happy wherever you are. And when you're happy, you're growing. Because here's what I know: happier people, or people that grow, are happier people, and happier people are people that grow. So here's what I can share with you, some things. So first idea that I want to share with you is that education, it has not necessarily to do only with gathering new information, new skills, right? Because here is what Einstein said. He says that education is what remains after we have forgotten what we learn in school. So education has actually three parts here. So we have the learning part, we have the unlearning, and we have the relearning, right? So in the learning part, we're asking ourselves, what do I need to learn today that I didn't know yesterday? In the unlearning part, we want to ask ourselves, what do I need to let go of today that I held on to yesterday? And when it comes to relearning, is what do I need to change today that I was doing yesterday? So learning is not only one element, because many times we already have been programmed with a belief that comes from someone else, from our environment, from our peers, from our friends, from our family, from our teachers, and that influences the way we operate today. And if we're not looking at that, if we're not scrutinizing it, and if we're not analyzing, is this ingrained in truth? Is this based on reality, or is just my perception of how the world operates? And unless we challenge, we look at that, and we unlearn some of the things that we learn and from other people, and that maybe served the purpose in our past, but do not serve us anymore. Until we do that, until we make that shift, we're not really kind of, educating ourselves. We're not really growing. So growth and education has those three parts, right? So learn, unlearn, and relearn. Okay? So where do we start? We're almost at the top of this show. Where do we start? So let's start with where you are. So start where we are. Look at what are your strengths. If you have never taken a personality assessment or a leadership and communication assessment or an entrepreneurial impact assessment in one of our assessments, reach out to me. Write me an email at florin@florinlungu.com, florin@florinlungu.com, and I will be glad to share that with you, because you need to know yourself to grow yourself. You need to know your strengths, and you need to know your blind spots, and you need to know where you can add more value to you, your company, your business, your family, and that's where you want to focus your growth, right? So the first thing is to know yourself. The second thing is to decide who do you want to be in 3 years from now. And with that in mind, you make an inventory of where you are now and where you want to be. And then you create a personal growth plan to close that gap. So start with knowing yourself. If you haven't ever taken a personality assessment to know your strengths and your blind spots and where you add value most to people, um, get in touch. I will be glad to share that with you. Then decide where you want to be, and based on where you are today, what are your strengths and where you want to be. Then you create your personal growth plan. And here is a strategy. Here is the 4-step growth strategy that I can share with you. This is where I believe the rubber meets the road, because you could apply this in your life right away. So you have to have these kind of perspectives when you're growing, right? So you want your now when you're creating your plan, you want to be able to look at the big picture. Where do I need to focus my growth? And this is exactly what we discussed. So when you make an inventory of where you are now and you create this personal growth plan, this exactly, it's your first step here. You know where you want to go, you know where you want to be in 3 years from now. Now you want to also have some kind of measurement to know, how do I know that am I growing, right? And what I learned is that most people underestimate the effect, the compounding effect of a process, right? And they overestimate the impact of an event, right? So they attend an event, they take a course, and they hope that course will solve all of their problems, and they'll change their lives. And yeah, those events, those courses are a great catalyst for change. But it takes a process, it takes consistency, right? So that's why the step number 3 here is consistency. How can I grow daily? What is one little thing that I can do every single day so I can grow every single day? And then how can I act on it, right? Is this something that I can integrate and act on it? Because in order for us to create a new belief and create a new awareness of our potential, we need to test things, we need to try things, and we need to prove to ourselves that we can do different things. So that's why it has to be practical. It has to, the reason why I read books and I take people through books like Think and Grow Rich is because I want to apply those principles in my life. So if I want to build my mindset, if I want to grow into my entrepreneurial skills and being able to reach my goals, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose a book, like for example Think and Grow Rich, and I'm going to choose to daily read from that book, a few pages, and on those pages I will going to identify one idea that I'm going to apply into my life, right? That's how this looks like in practice. So what we're going to do next is we're gonna look at so the idea that I want to share with you, kind of to close this, is that growth, it's a process, not an event. And I think this is so important for us to have in mind, that we're going to grow through a process. That's why this is not a one-time event, this is not a one-time show. So over the next weeks, we're going to go through all of the 12 different entrepreneurial mindsets, and next week I'm going to look at the abundance mindset. Right? How can we move from competing to creating? So next up, on Monday, May 3rd, at the same time, 5 p.m., 11 a.m. ET, I'm going to be here with you, and I look forward to see you then. Okay? Thank you for tuning in today, and I look forward to see you